This issue has recently gotten much worse with the closing of institutions by the government. Those people that were being taken care of, they closed the state developmental center. Those people are out on the streets. They don't know what to do. That is a real problem. Judge Avery has run a mental health court for a long time. It doesn't, he doesn't deal with people that are charged with crimes. It's a civil court, but it's a start. I've always been aware of the special needs that mentally ill people have had, and have worked with Roseanne Strunger, Abby Flynn before she passed, and people like that. And always had the support of NAMI and the Carriage House, Larry Hayes, for example. Just a few weeks ago, I was getting ready. I was going to sentence somebody. I can't remember if it was a trial. I know it was a trial. And this person, the defendant, was a young lady who had a mental illness, had 2 kids that were involved in with the Chins. They were in foster care. She, prior to being convicted, she had done everything she was supposed to do with the Chins. She'd done the parent participation plan, or whatever they call that anymore, and was ready to be reunited with her kids. So we go to sentencing, and the prosecuting attorney wants me to put this person in prison for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. And the more I listened to all of this, something went off in my head, and I said, now wait a minute, if I put this person in prison, am I hearing that the welfare is going to take these 2 kids away from her? And the answer was yes. Now, how'd you like to make that call? That's one of the things I do almost every day. I would not take those kids away from that mother, put them in the state care. You know, I've always been aware of those issues, and I understand that, you know, we deal with alcohol substance addictions, and co-occurring disorders are the hardest ones to deal with. Thank God we have the Kelly House. You know, there's still this argument about, do we deal with the addiction first, or we deal with the mental health issues? Every day we see people that won't take their medications. I mean, I'm aware of that. One time I ordered the sheriff to give the medications to this person, and the next thing I know, I got a petition from the sheriff's lawyer saying, you can't do that, you're practicing medicine without a license. I said, okay, fine, you're right. If I'm practicing medicine without a license, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, so we are handcuffed with what we do. You're doing wonderful things with NAMI and the Carriage House, and those people, they're very dedicated, and I understand where you're going through. That's it. The purpose of a juvenile court is to rehabilitate the person. The judge in the juvenile court system has a lot more discretion to do things to force rehabilitation. I don't have that discretion in a lot of cases. I can't force a person to do things, a lot of things that a juvenile judge might be in a position to do. 2 things have struck me in my 19 years. When I look at people that I'm sentencing, they come from broken homes, and they don't have an education, they quit school. Those 2 things have struck me. I try to get them the education as probation if they're in a position to do that. I can't do anything about them coming from a broken home. Can't tell you how many mothers I've had in court pleading for their child, saying, I did the best I could, and it's my fault, I can't help what they did. You know, it's my fault because they didn't do that. You know, they took them to church, they did what they were supposed to do, but they don't have that man in their life, I think, to show them to teach them to do the right thing. We have programs here to do that. You know, we talked about those programs. Lots of inner city churches have mentoring programs to help people. Part of the problem, anybody here running for school board? Part of the problem is the educational system. Not yet, yeah, okay. Is the educational system. I read a study somewhere that said if school started later and got out later, that the youth that are out there running the streets between 3 and 5 when their parents come home would not be out there running because one of their parents would be home to watch them, so they wouldn't do that. The teachers don't want that, and parents don't want that because they'd rather go to work early in the morning, leave their kids to go to school, and then not worry about them until they get back. That's a solution that might help. Will it ever happen? Probably not. There are ways of dealing with these issues. I don't know how far a criminal court judge goes in this whole area of trying to prevent crime. I think that's a juvenile court issue. I'm willing to help people to commit crimes, but I don't know how I can stop them from committing crimes.
Yeah, I just have a question for Wendy, if that's okay, if I can ask. Okay. You seem to know a lot about the community, and I think that's a direct reflection of the advocacy you do in this town, Fort Wayne. I think that's your competitive advantage, and that's probably why you'll get my vote. If elected, will you continue your advocacy here in the community?
It's funny, I was just asked that the other day. The answer to that is yes. Because I know a lot of people that have dug into my background know that I'm law enforcement. I've been a felony prosecutor for many years, and I've dealt with a lot of gangs and, again, seen a lot of things. But I honestly think to be a good judge, you've got to have both. And if I am not out there being a part of the solution, how can I sit on a bench and really, be the person that's making a difference in that courtroom? And although I advocate that, I need to let my position really is I am pro law enforcement. And I will do everything in my power to put new collaborative efforts into place to come up with solutions to rehabilitate if that is possible. But truthfully, if my schedule allows it, which it will, yes, I have no intentions of rolling off any of the boards or the things. Because that keeps me engaged. As you know, I was part of Dancing with the Stars. I would not be able to advocate to globally or to make decisions based if I wasn't in the community and understanding everything that is available to me coming from different communities.
Thank you.
Outside of the judge's role.
Oh, outside of the law and all that?
Right. What you're involved, yes.
Oh.
Within the community, what are you involved in? We've heard a lot from Ms. Davis. I'd like to know
In the
your
last few
background as
years,
far as what you're
I
involved
have a
in.
25-year span with that. Dealing with lots of things that are here today. Clearly, one of the things, we take a look at that Urban League building down there on Hannah Street. We were very involved with that, and putting that together as well as raising money. Bob was putting money in that particular building. It wouldn't be here today. There are a lot of things back then, but hey, right now, as far as community involvement, my involvement has mostly been with the Masons. I'm very active with the Masons and a lot of programs there. It really has to do with mothers and supporting mothers through the Masons program. And this is just recent. I got a lot involved with the Lions Club here, Central Lions Club. And we do a lot for people with disabilities, especially eyesight and those kinds of things, and understanding that whole culture around lack of proper ability to see. I got, even in Monroeville, there's a very active faith-based youth center there, Cornerstone Youth Center. And it's very active out there for the last almost 2 years. I was always there. They had lots of meetings. Eventually they asked me to be a part of the board out there. And I was in the coffee house with the kids constantly. I'm kind of a hands-on kind of person. Trying to think of, well, obviously everyone's involved with your church, but the one thing I'm very happy about in my church is that I went through a pretty intensive 9-month course of study to be commissioned as a Stephen minister. And I don't know if anyone knows exactly what a Stephen minister is, but we were just commissioned, my wife and I, last June. And this is a hands-on ministry, reaching out to people in needs and those kinds of things. tentacles out there. Maybe some others don't forget it.
First of all, thank you for having us here. It's been a real interesting experience. A lot of what I have done I'm involved with the German Fest Committee. I've been an officer with that for over 25 years. I was the founder of the German Heritage Society, which helps German language students. We give them scholarships, what we use from the money that we raise at German Fest. I've worked with Junior Achievement, I've worked with my church, I've been on the school board of my church. I was president of the Drug and Alcohol Consortium. I've been on the board of the Indiana Association of Drug Court Professionals. I've been involved in an awful lot of groups. I can't remember all of them. I love my community as much as the next person does. I've been involved. I've tried to better the community. And I've been doing it for ever since I got back from law school in 1976. I know Johnny come lately in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, on behalf of the Legal Women Voters, and I would like Betsy and Judy and Eve to please stand up. These are my partners, 3 of my partners in crime who are part of the webmaster is probably in class tonight. I would like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank the YWCA, Debbie Beckman staff wave, YWCA staff, Women's Bureau, Jeanette Dillon, where are you, Jeanette? I'd like to thank you all for coming, because this has been kind of an experiment for us.
So we're guinea pigs.
You're guinea pigs. Yeah. But I think this has been really interesting and informative, and I thank all 3 of you for being good sports and doing this. The young leaders of Northeast Indiana have a voter's guide on their website, which is really, really good. And they have asked some really interesting questions and gotten responses from a wide variety of candidates. Since there's no point in reinventing the wheel, I would suggest that if you are interested, you go to the ylni.org website and look at that voter guide before you vote. And finally, do vote, please. You can vote early, vote on November 2nd, but get out there and vote. Thanks.